With information rapidly changing, we are committed to providing accurate training information, sharing, and guidance on various business resources and financial assistance options available to assist small businesses and nonprofits. Good morning. I'm Karen Schma, Director of Diversity Business Investment and Entrepreneurship at the FCEDA, and it is my pleasure to be your host and moderator for today's discussion. We appreciate the decision you have made to be a part of this live event. Today's topic of discussion is the PPP second round and business resources. It is sure to be an interesting discussion. We've got a lot of great information to share, so let's get started. I would like to introduce FCEDA President and CEO, Victor Hoskins, who will be joining us this morning to offer opening remarks. Good morning, Victor.
Good morning, Karen. How are you this morning?
So
good to see you. I'm delighted to present great speakers on this critical topic, the SBA PPP program and local resources. This is, when you think about it, the 2.0 of PPP. This second draw of the PPP is going to be over $25 billion, $25 billion. And it really is focused on small businesses with a maximum of 10 employees that are looking for up to $250,000 and that are eligible borrowers in low and moderate income neighborhoods. That is a very important point. Less than 10 employees, up to $250,000, focused on low and moderate income neighborhoods. This is so important. $25 billion in that part of the market will make a big difference. It will save jobs. It will save households. And I'm so pleased that Antonio Doss, Director of the Washington District of the SBA office, is here today. I think so much of Antonio. He has been a great ally when I was in Washington, D.C. as deputy mayor, when I was director of economic development in Arlington County. Everywhere I've ever been in this region, Antonio Doss has put his resources at our disposal to help small businesses. And it's so important right now in this unprecedented situation. Our federal government is responding, our county government is responding, our state government is responding, and it is really making a big difference. Just think about this. In Fairfax County alone, in the first round of PPP, $1.9 billion went to small businesses in Fairfax County alone. That's thousands and thousands of businesses. That's thousands and thousands of jobs. And not only do we have Antonio Doss, but we also have Mark Scarano. Mark Scarano runs the Community Business Partnership. Him and Elizabeth and others, they are really out there fighting for you and fighting for your business. Elizabeth Rogers is going to bring the resource of Start Small, Think Big, which has made a huge difference for our businesses already. And then we have Kirsten Sharp, who is going to give you some oversight of SCORE counseling, as I mentioned earlier. I want to thank them all for their time. I want to thank them all for their dedication to public service. So in 2020, Fairfax County Economic Development Authority made a lot of changes. We did, like a lot of people, we pivoted. We connected thousands of businesses to find out what their issues were. And we did that through surveys, all digital. We did outreach, all digital. We launched newsletters focused on microloans. We helped market the Fairfax Rise program, which was the first in its history direct grant program to small businesses. Over 4,800 small businesses were assisted through this program. We help our companies focus on the Rebuild Virginia money and the EIDL programs. And this has all made a huge difference in saving companies and in saving jobs. I mentioned those 4,800 businesses. The vision of the county executive, Hill, and County Supervisor McKay, the chairman of the Board of Supervisors for Fairfax, to do this not only affected our 4,800 businesses with 50 employees or less, but listen to this, 72% were women-owned businesses, minority-owned or veteran-owned businesses. It really met the target. It really met the goal of what the chair of the board was trying to do, trying to help small businesses, connected hundreds of them to this opportunity. Not only that, the SCORE mentors and the Start Small, Think Big has also helped hundreds of businesses. We actually focused on Tech for Growth workshops. Karen Schma and others did an incredible workshop with Facebook, which is really was a new one for us. And we even focused on minority business finance, working with Senator Warner and others in the minority business communities, such as Doyle Mitchell, who is the CEO of Industrial Bank. We stood up talent initiatives. We've done so much in the talent arena. We have a website now that gets over 20,000 hits a month, over 130,000 visitors already, and it has made a big difference. Thousands of people have applied for jobs. We've connected over 8,500 to opportunities. We have 30 universities involved, including 7 historically Black colleges, bringing a diverse workforce. We work with women in coding. We work with veterans in code. We work with everybody who is really looking for opportunity in this economy. Our unemployment rate shot through the roof to 10.2% in May of last year. That rate hadn't been seen since the Great Depression. Right now, it's down to 4.4%, but it was 1.2% before the pandemic began. What I'm trying to say is we got a lot of work to do still. We've done a lot of work, but we have a lot more work to do. I have to commend my Northern Virginia Economic Development Alliance partners from Prince William County, to Arlington County, from Alexandria to Loudoun County, to Fairfax City, to Manassas Park, to Falls Church. All of them have really thrown their back into helping small women, minority, and veteran-owned businesses in the DMV. We just want to save a job, because we know if we save a job, we can save a household. And if we can save a household, we can save a community. And that's what makes our economy resilient. I want to thank you for being with us today. And at this point, I'd like to turn it back over to Karen. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Victor. Those are some pretty impressive statistics that you mentioned. You are certainly making a difference, not only in Fairfax County, but the region as well. What a great way to kick off this event. Thank you so much for being here. The second iteration of the Federal Paycheck Protection Program is now live and underway. The rules regarding eligibility and qualifications, the determination of loan amounts and loan forgiveness can sometimes be complex, nuanced, and in many cases, confusing. Over the next 30 minutes, we will try to make sense of it all and provide you with insight into the second draw PPP. With this said, I cannot think of a better guest to be joining us to present, as well as help us understand the PPP second draw. Antonio Das is District Director of the Washington Metropolitan Area District Office. Following a successful career at Bank of America, Antonio landed at SBA, where he leads one of the largest SBA teams in the country, providing outreach and services to small businesses. I am delighted to welcome him here today. Antonio is going to walk us through his slides, tell us everything we need to know about the program, and take questions at the end of the presentation. As he is speaking, be sure to type your questions in the Q&A. We will do our very best to answer as many questions as we can. At the end, if we have not answered those questions, we will be sure to follow up. Antonio, thank you for being here. I'll turn it over to you.
Well, good morning, Karen. It's great to see you. Great to be here this morning. Victor, again, thank you for all your kind comments. And yes, the PPP round 2 is here. And as Karen said, there's a lot of things happening with these programs. I will say this at some point during my more official remarks, but I'll say it once now in the sense of the way teachers do it. You say something 3 times and hopefully people will catch it. So one of these things I'm going to say is be sure to stay close to the news information about the PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program, and all of our other funding programs that we're offering by staying glued to SBA.gov. The Small Business Administration website, SBA.gov, is the host of all the information that you're going to need. And because some of these things are going to be adjusted from time to time, there's certain aspects of our rulemaking that is firmly in place, and there's some things that we're still tweaking. We still will have updated Q&As and such. And so the information I share today is as of today. As of a week or 2 or 3, there could be some things that are a little bit different. So I don't want you to only take today's information and run with that, but stay close to the current information as it may adjust and change over the time. So we can jump right into the slide deck. I think we're fine with that first slide. Going to the second one. Here's what we're going to talk about a little bit this morning is a bit about where we are, our economic aid funding options, and there's some new wrinkles that we have this year. So you'll get a sense of some of the things happening there, and particularly with our loan programs and our grant programs. And of course, always additional assistance and resources, which are really, really important. One of the things that I think is good to just share with you is, so far the money we have is ample to do the job. We don't know how long that statement will be appropriate, but if you may recall, last year we went through in 14 days as a country somewhere around $350 billion in financial aid through the PPP program. So we are not quite at that type of a pace this year. As of yesterday, we've allocated approximately $100 billion in PPP loan origination. So we definitely have more time on our shoulders this time than we did last time, because all that money would have been going based on last year's numbers. So let's move on to the next slide, please. One of the things that we intentionally did as a government, and Congress and the executive branch, again, both worked on this, was to make sure that we were focusing more attention on those that needed it the most. And so when we rolled this program out this year, we intentionally delayed the largest of financial institutions from having access for the first couple of weeks, just to give the smaller community financial institutions, the CDFIs, the small minority-owned banks, et cetera, an opportunity to have their borrowers, who are often the smallest of small, to be able to participate and take advantage of the loan program. So we were successfully able to do that. And we're glad that it was one of the things we were able to accomplish already this year. Next slide, please. So today, what I want to share with you is information on several different loan programs, the Paycheck Protection Program, the debt relief and 504 programs that we have for our debt relief on 7A and 504 and microloan, our economic injury disaster loan program, and the targeted EIDL advance. So this is a little bit of a different wrinkle this time. So that's one I want to make sure I spend a few minutes on. And then lastly, the shuttered venue operators grant, which is brand new this year. And there'll be some information I can share today and more that'll be required to share later. Next slide, please. So big points here on the Paycheck Protection Program. One is that there's been some expansion on eligibility and how the funds could be used to try to create better opportunities for people to be able to take advantage of these loan programs. The borrowers now are not restricted between an 8-week or a 24-week. They can choose a time that makes sense for their covered period. Last time when we did the program, we were kind of a little bit stuck because we started off with the assumption that we would have an 8-week period, and 8 weeks would be all we'd need for the pandemic. And of course, we found out later on that estimate was way short and we needed a lot more time. So Congress said, let's give additional flexibility. So that's why you have this 8 to 24 week period that's available now. There's also now a second draw option for the businesses who've been hit particularly hard. I'll explain more in detail about what that means. And some additional expenses that are available for the program, as well as those deduction of expenses on your federal tax returns, because there was some questions about what was a deductible and not. So that part has been cleaned up. So as you can see, Congress has done a lot of work to try to make sure that the elements of this program are appropriate for what the need actually is, including making it easier for borrowers to go through the process of actually requesting forgiveness. It was never intended to be a very complicated thing, and it got more complicated last year, in part because it was just an evolving program. And one of the other items was last year, if you were a borrower and you got an EIDL advance and a PPP loan, we actually were removing the EIDL advance from your forgiveness. So you were getting less money in forgiveness than what you should have. So this has been corrected under this year's Economic Aid Act program. We can go to the next slide. Here are the couple of things I want to make sure you understand about the first draw program. So if you didn't get a PPP loan last year by the 9th of August, that's when we really ended the program, you can apply for the first draw. And it's an expanded thing in two respects. One is the types of expenses that are available. Another is the entities, and I'll cover both of those. Again, you have the option of an 8 to 24 week period for forgiveness, or excuse me, for this program, which relates back to your forgiveness. One of the most key points here, and I know we've gotten questions about this already before, the business has to have existed by February 15th, 2020. If the business was not around at that point in time, this program is not available to that particular business owner. So February 15th is one of the really key dates of last year. The other really key date is March 31st of this year as the last date that these funds will be available. And I do want to point out that that's also up until we have money available. So if for some reason we run out of money at March 15th, that March 31st date becomes moot because we're only going to be able to do this up until funding remains available. So let's move on to the next slide where we're talking about first draw loan program eligibility. So we got a couple new entities that are available: housing cooperatives, destination marketing organizations. One of the really big ones that we didn't get into the last program was funding for chambers of commerce. And I know around the area, we've talked to many of the chambers, and there was some question at one point about whether it was going to be included or not, or was it actually in there? And the answer was no, it wasn't included, and so that chambers could participate. So now chambers can participate, and there are certain media news type organizations that can as well. That's a very specific segment, and it has some qualifications to it. Others are still eligible, the sole proprietors, the independent contractors, the self-employed, any of the LLC corporations, 501c3, 501c19, tribal, all of those still remain eligible to participate in the program as a first draw eligible entity. So on the next slide, we'll talk a little bit more about the second draw program. So this is for borrowers who already got a PPP last year, and there's a couple of key qualifications this time in order to get a second draw, because again, we're trying to get the money to not just everybody, but really prioritizing those that have the biggest need. So this is for companies that have 300 or fewer employees and have suffered a loss in gross receipts or gross revenues or gross sales of 25% or more. And if this fits your particular situation, then you're going to be eligible to get most likely either 2.5 or 3.5 times your average monthly payroll cost, up to a maximum of $2 million. So the 2.5 million is for all businesses except for those that are in the accommodation or food services industries, because we know if you were a restaurant, if you're in some kind of hotel line of business, your revenue dropped off in most cases exceptionally significantly. And so we're trying to, again, make sure we have funds available for that particular group of borrowers. And the second draw applications, there's a specific form now that we have for that, which is listed here on the screen. And also there's links to this information on our website. We'll go to the next slide where we talk about the second draw loan eligibility. So in order to get these particular loans, the second draw, again, you have to have gotten a PPP loan prior. You have to have used, or you're really close to using, your full draw of the PPP loan that you got in 2020. And you're, again, using it appropriately just for the expenses that are allotted. Again, no more than 300 employees and a 25% reduction between 2019 and 2020. So 25% is the key thing. There are some elements to this where we recognize that it may not be the full year where you experience that, but you can demonstrate it based on a quarterly reduction in your revenue. So if your third quarter 2020 was 30% below your third quarter 2019, that would qualify. As for the loan application process on the next slide, what we're going to see here is how this whole thing works. The first thing is to get with your lender. So what lender should you use? Ideally, if you go back to the borrower, or excuse me, to the bank or the financial institution or the non-bank lender that you used the first time, they've already kind of got your information. It should make that process pretty simple and streamlined. But we do realize that in some cases, some of the lenders weren't available to fund your loan at the time you needed it last year. You may have gone to an alternative lender, or you might have switched out and went to a lender and just decided that wasn't where you wanted to keep your banking relationship since that time. First choice, though, go back to one that you used before or a lender you're already familiar with. If you don't have a good lender already that you have in mind, again, our website, sba.gov, has a lot of information, including the lender match option, which will help you identify a lender. You're going to complete the application. This, again, out of every loan application I've ever seen in my entire business banking kind of a life, I've never seen one as simple and easy to complete as this particular application is. So don't let the application at all scare you. And we're going to then issue the loan once the bank approves it. Now, we do have a bit of a buffer process going on now, in that we're using a little bit of a delayed approach before we actually fund, to make sure that we don't have any hiccups, any issues. There's not any fraudulent things that are going on. We're trying to minimize the fraud, waste, and abuse element of the PPP program, because I'm sure you've all heard of a story here or there where someone is driving around with I'll call it a rather expensive vehicle, and that's not the purpose of the PPP. So we're trying to make sure that we're protecting your taxpayer dollars as best we can. And we'll go to the next slide. So for terms, let me speak a little bit about that. If you end up in a situation where 100% of your loan is not forgiven, it's a 1% interest rate. There's no requirement for collateral. There's no requirement for personal guarantees. There's no prepayment penalty if you get a chance to pay it off early. Otherwise, it's got a 5-year maturity. And if a borrower does not apply for forgiveness payment, then the loan basically starts 10 months after the last day of the covered period. As for forgiveness on the next slide, what we'll see here is about borrowers being able to apply for forgiveness through their lenders. The key things here is the EIDL advances are no longer deducted from your PPP loan forgiveness payment. This was something I mentioned before, so I wanted to make sure that that's well known and understood. There's some expenses related to the whole PPP program that are federally deductible. That was something that was in question a little bit last year, so we're trying to clarify that. Again, we are the Small Business Administration. We are not the Internal Revenue Service, so we would recommend that you highly work back with your accountant, your CPA, and IRS guidelines for the specifics on that. But the definite attempt has been made to clean that part up. And there are some expanded items in terms of forgivable expenses. Some of you have probably added personal protective environmental support to your work sites, for example. Those are legitimate expenses that can be used as part of the PPP funding, and the deduction of those funds are available too. And the funding that you get is not considered taxable income. There was a question about that last year as well. Okay, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to try to move a little more quickly because I know I'm going to start getting close on time here. The economic injury disaster loan, that program was originally set to sunset on at the end of December 2020, but with the passage of the Economic Aid Act, it got extended a full additional year. So again, this program is available You can think of it as a working capital program for your rent, utilities, fixed debt payment. This is not forgivable. This money you actually have to repay. The good news is the interest rate is favorable, 3.75% for business and 2.75 for nonprofits. 30 years. It's a 30-year repayment. So it's about as affordable as we can be in terms of stretching the repayment period out. And again, the eligible entities are pretty much all the same type of eligible entities that we see with the PPP program. If you run into questions about anything specific about your entity, whether it's size standards or the nature of its business, you can consult our SBA.gov website for additional information. So when I opened up, I mentioned that there were some specific things that we're doing with the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Advance. So as you might recall, last year, this was essentially a grant of $10,000. We actually went and moved this grant to be one where we said it's $1,000 per person, depending on how many employees you have. So if you had 3 employees, instead of getting $10,000, you were able to get $3,000. And so we're trying to actually get back to the point where we can help some of those businesses, again, the ones in the most dire straits, to be able to get back up to that $10,000 amount. So if you're a business that didn't get the full $10,000, if your business is located in a low income community, and there'll be a census tract designation tool available in the coming weeks that will help identify that a little more clearly, and you've suffered a 30% or more loss and you have 300 or fewer employees, then SBA will automatically reach out to you, and we've already started that process to let you know that you're going to be eligible to go back and get the additional funding that you would have received. On the next page, we're listing some of the items that are critical for being able to identify how much of that money you're going to be able to get. And these are some of the examples of documentations here. I'm not going to go through each of those documents, but the point I'm going to really drill down on is to make sure that you are accurate in your submission of information with this particular aspect of getting your funding. As we go to the next slide, there's a little bit more information on it. Make sure you got the right bank account information. Make sure you have everything correct, because we are not going through the reconsideration process this time around for the targeted economic injury disaster loan advance. So be sure you got everything straight up front. Don't let an oops cost you the ability to get the extra funding that you're eligible to receive. So let me move now to the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant Program. This one is one where we're starting to get a lot of interest in. It's a grant. It's not a loan. It's a straight up grant. And the application process has not opened yet. In fact, some of my colleagues are working feverishly to put in place all of the things that are necessary for this grant to be put out as an opportunity, to have it be clear exactly what it covers and what it doesn't cover, and what the terms and all those fundamental elements are. So I can share some of this with you now, but again, SBA.gov, we will have more information coming up on this. The whole idea behind this is that live venue operators, theaters and such, really had a hard hit with the pandemic last year. Clearly a lot of people weren't able to take advantage of the things that we normally would do. We weren't going to concerts like we would have done a couple of years earlier. So these funds are available for businesses that have been in business as of the February 29th, 2020 date. And the venue operator or promoter cannot have received a PPP loan after December 27th of 2020. So we're trying to say, if you've got a PPP loan earlier, that's one thing, but you can't get the PPP second round with this. Here's just a glimpse also of this little chart is designed to say, depending on what you're looking for as an applicant or as a recipient, what you can use and what you can't use. So for example, the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant, you can't use it to apply for a PPP loan right now if you're also going for the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. And there's an eligibility requirement if you look in the middle box here that you have to meet. And then lastly, you could still apply for the EIDL loan, but you just can't use it for the exact same purposes, the exact same items. So that's one of the clarification points. Alrighty. Last couple of things I'll do very quickly is the SBA debt relief program. Again, Congress has provided additional funding here to make sure borrowers have the ability to come back in and get loans where we're actually helping to pay for your monthly payment, principal and interest. This is very specific. You don't even have to really apply for this. This is something SBA is automatically doing if you're an SBA borrower. The last couple slides here, the key takeaways on its loan programs. We have 3 loan programs. We have 2 grant programs with the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, Targeted Advance, and the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant Program. In terms of what do you do now, the next slide speaks to contacting your lender, connecting with Lender Match. If you've got questions, the 202-205-8800 phone number is the number to our Washington Metropolitan Area District Office. Our team there will be happy to help answer questions, get you directed in the right locations, in the right places. Very, very important. You're going to hear from some of our resource partners in just a few minutes. You don't have to go through this whole process on your own. There's a lot of information that's available. There's a lot of resources that are available. We have fantastic, tremendous resource partners at the Women's Business Center, at SCORE, at the Small Business Development Center, at our Veterans Business Outreach Center. All provide free coaching, guidance, and they're there to help you. That's what their actual job is to do. And they welcome the opportunity to have that chance. And lastly, on this slide is a listing of some of the key links and connection pieces. So if you've got additional questions, you can also feel free to email us at WMADOEE. So WMADOEE at SBA.gov. And again, several other links there to our website. The key thing is stay in touch with the updates, regularly check back in with SBA.gov for any additional information. And I may have taken more time presenting than I was supposed to for questions, but I'm ready for questions too.
Antonio, thank you for that wonderful presentation. It was a lot of good information. So now we'll open it up for Q&A from the audience. Got a lot of questions here. I'm going to sort through. The first question is, 501c6 trade associations are now eligible. This person just wants confirmation that nonprofits, the C6s, are in fact eligible for the PPP.
They are. C6s was one of the new additions this year, attempting to correct what I think Congress probably intended to do last year and just wasn't able to get it factually put into the legislation.
All right, thank you. Lynn would like to know, does the 25% reduction have to be in a calendar quarter? Would it apply to a 3 consecutive month period, such as March through May?
No, it needs to be in a full quarter. So April, May, June, January, February, March, either of those 2 at work, but not crossing quarters.
Okay, thank you. And here's another one. This is from Rick. In calculating the PPP number 2 loan amount, can you include office, lab rent expense incurred for 2019?
Yes, because those are legitimate expenses. That's your lease, rent, your operating expenses for that. The PPP forgiveness amount is now based on a 60% usage as well. So remember, when we started last year, it was higher than that. So we've moved it down to payroll and other eligible expenses, like you just suggested there in the question, Karen, are part of that 60% requirement.
Okay, Thank you. Antonio, here's another one. I applied for first round PPP in January of 2021. My bank status shows it's approved, but I have not received the money or email saying it was approved. I was wondering if I will be able to apply for second round PPP before March 31st if the money doesn't run out.
In all likelihood, I don't think you'll be able to do both of those during this time because the covered period is going to be at least 8 weeks. And you're going to be in a situation where you won't have used or had even the opportunity to use those funds for that first 8 weeks, 8 week period. Your better option probably lies in what may, and I'm using may with like double air quotes, be coming down the road for any additional stimulus programs or perhaps PPP round 3 later this year. But that is not on the record at all. That's just me saying, pay attention to what's happening in Congress as well, because that would be where that opportunity would come available.
Okay. Antonio, as you know, there are a lot of independent contractors in this area, and this question addresses that. So for independent contractors, those applicants use their 1099 for the first draw of the PPP loan to calculate the loan amount. If they apply for the second draw, the calculation is now based on line 31 of their Schedule C, which would be less because it shows net profit. Is that correct, in fact?
I'd have to look at that one a little bit more closely because I don't have the literal form in front of me right now. But if you want to reach out to our office on one of those numbers or addresses I listed before, we can look at that. And it may be possible that one of my colleagues might even be able to answer that question in the chat box.
All right, and Shonda, we will be able to get an answer for you. And I think we've got time for one or two more questions. For PPP2, if a business chooses to use 2020 payroll, what would they have to provide? 2020 payroll docs and 2020 tax return draft? Do the documents have to be initialed and dated as well?
Yeah, you're going to make sure everything is dated. Essentially what you're trying to do is demonstrate that you have data that is in a well-founded source. Your tax returns, your financial statements, your payroll tax accounting forms that will show how much you've spent in 1 year compared to the next year. And because you're going to use that on the application on the front end, and you're going to use essentially that same information on the back end when it comes for forgiveness period. So one of the most important things, and I didn't stress this early enough, is make sure you are very diligent in putting together your documentation and keeping good, accurate records of what you're spending the funds for the purpose for which you're spending those funds and the amounts of those spending, so that you can easily and without stress come back to your lender and say, here's my forgiveness application, and here's the documentation that demonstrates I've used this money the way it was supposed to be used.
Okay, and then Antonio, the final question is from Irma. The question is, can we present two applications at the same time? One forgiveness for the first PPP loan and an application for the PPP2.
Yeah, you can. And one of the things that we're also saying is, just kind of, again, pay attention to the timing. Some of the lenders are really aggressive on doing forgiveness right now. Some of them are a little bit less. Some of them are still kind of waiting to see what else happens on the forgiveness side. You don't have to submit your forgiveness, at any particular time, before an application can be submitted for paycheck. PPP round 2 or PPP second draw more specifically.
Okay, thank you. So Antonio, this concludes the Q&A. On behalf of the viewing audience, I'd like to thank you for your participation today. You provided a tremendous amount of information, and you have helped, I think, clarify some of the confusion associated with this wonderful program. I think people now have a better understanding of PPP Round 2. Thank you again. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give Antonio a virtual round of applause. Thank you again for taking time out of your busy day. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. As we transition to the second half of today's program, before we hear from our business resource partners, I'd like to check in with the audience by conducting a poll. You'll have 30 seconds in which to complete the poll. You just heard from the District Director, Antonio Doss of the SBA, talk about the PPP Round 2. So for the audience, are you planning to apply for Round 2 PPP funding? I see the results coming in. Got about 5 seconds remaining. The poll has ended. Let's take a look at the results. Very impressive. 82% of the viewing audience participating in the event today plan to apply for Round 2. So I hope that the information provided was very helpful and beneficial. And as Mr. Doss mentioned, staff in his office, SCORE mentors will be able to assist in providing you with additional information and assistance. Thank you for participating in the poll. So whether you are planning to apply for PPP Round 2 funding or not, at some point in the life cycle of your business, you're going to need to seek outside help to resolve a problem, obtain guidance as you explore implementing a new product or service, manage cash flow, help write or perhaps update a business plan, negotiate a contract, HR matters, legal issues, working with your landlord to renegotiate your lease. Whatever the fact may be, we've got business resource experts here today joining us. 3 extremely knowledgeable experts who are passionate about helping small businesses. Fresh off the heels of managing the implementation and oversight of the historic multi-million-dollar Fairfax County RISE grant and other COVID-related financing programs, he is no stranger to navigating and directing businesses to the appropriate resources. As Executive Director of the Community Business Partnership, Mark Scarano oversees 5 distinct programs. Good morning, Mark. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to hearing your presentation.
Great. Thanks, Karen. I'm really appreciative to be here and want to thank the Fairfax County EDA and the SBA for putting on a real informative session for people with great opportunities for financing their businesses in a time in which capital is hard to get in many cases. And businesses are going through a great deal of transition and having to be adept at making change. And just like Victor mentioned earlier today, change is coming to all of us, and CBP is no different. So I want to talk a little bit about Community Business Partnership, what we do, how we can help you in a short amount of time. And next slide, please. I'll talk a little bit about who we are. Our motto is we help people start and grow businesses. And we are a charitable organization. We've been around since 1995. So last year we celebrated our 20th anniversary of existence. And we didn't get a lot of chance to celebrate because we were extremely busy working with businesses left and right, many of them like yourselves that are looking for help. And we look to celebrate at some point, but business comes first. We're located in Springfield, just right next to the mixing bowl. And we're in a 10,000 square foot business incubator where we have hundreds of mailboxes for home-based business owners that don't want to have a residential address, for instance, on their paperwork and would rather have something more professional in an office setting. So we have those, and we also have 13 offices for businesses that do need a space out of their home and are looking to expand and grow successfully, because just down the hall you have experts on business assistance. And we have also shared workspaces at CBP. And of course, we take care of the full gamut of cleaning and disinfecting everything that is within our square footage. Community Business Partnership has been funded since the beginning from Fairfax County. And so, when you come into the office and you're getting assistance, if you're in Fairfax County, part of your tax dollars are going to help us get the information to you. So get your money's worth and your tax dollars worth through that. We use those funds to leverage other funds and assistance from the U.S. Small Business Administration. And we work with those folks on events not unlike this, but also one-on-one counseling and training seminars and webinars and the such. And finally, we do get a lot of civic-minded corporations provide us funds as well to do the job we do of helping people start and grow businesses. We have a staff of 15. We're all George Mason University employees. That's George Mason's contribution to the partnership that is Community Business Partnership. And you can find out all about what we do, what we have available at cbponline.org. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk about our 5 centers briefly, but there's a lot of acronyms and there's a lot of different organizations out there, and we try to make things as simple as possible for people that need help. If you need help, come to Community Business Partnership. You can also go to Fairfax County EDA. You can go to SCORE. You can go to SBA directly. Anybody, you're going to get good results from anybody that is out there that is associated not only with this webinar, but of others as well. So, so kind of keep that in mind. But within Community Business Partnership, we do have areas of business excellence. So we work with veterans, we work with women, we have a small business development center, we have a finance center. There's probably most of interest today, in which we do have some funds that we loan out ourselves. We also have access to other community development financial institutions that can perhaps lend funds as well and assist you, and we can assist you with meeting those folks and the such. And I mentioned our Business Incubation Center as well. Either way, next slide, please. Either way, go to CBP Online. If you need counseling one-on-one, whether you're a business that is getting started, whether you're an established business, whether you're a veteran-owned business, you can find counseling, one-on-one counseling with us by going to this page on our website. It's under counseling. Just click on any of those boxes there, and it'll lead you into a database in which you can make an appointment. Next slide. We go to same thing, cbponline.org for training, and we have a lot of different classes that are going on and webinars, not unlike this. In fact, tomorrow we have Rod Johnson, who works with Antonio Doss at the SBA, and he's going to be putting on a program on PPP as well. So there'll be a part 2 to this. It'll go over much of the same information, but there will be opportunities for Q&A with Rod in that as well, if you need more information and the such. So again, go to cbponline.org and you'll see the classes there we have as well. Next slide. So I want to thank everybody for the time today. Again, don't get, confused by all the acronyms that are out there. Between the SBA, Fairfax County EDA, and Community Business Partnership and SCORE, you've got amazing resources out there, and we all work together, and we all want to have the same mission, helping you and your business. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for that information. You and your amazing staff are a tremendous asset to the small business community. Thank you so much. Our next business resource expert is tasked with conducting outreach in the Northern Virginia area and currently serves as a legal fellow for New York-based nonprofit Start Small, Think Big. A recent Georgetown University Law School grad, She is poised to have a successful legal career. Let's welcome Elizabeth Rogers. Elizabeth, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Karen. Can I have the next slide, please? I'd like to thank the entire team at Fairfax County, EDA, and the United States Small Business Administration, and the other great organizations that are here today. It's exciting to join you and to talk to everyone today about the small business resources that are available through my organization and others. I'd like to give you a quick introduction to Start Small, Think Big, a nonprofit organization that provides free, high-quality services for small business owners. Start Small, Think Big is, as I said, a nonprofit organization that believes that access to high-quality legal, financial, and marketing services is an integral part of starting or growing a successful small business. We leverage a network of high-quality professionals from the top law firms, financial institutions, and marketing companies across the United States to provide these services for free to our clients. The next slide, please. Let's dive into our individual services. Our legal services are transactional legal services. So this means everything from setting up your business for the first time and setting up an entity that's right for you, whether that be an LLC or a corporation or something else, or if you've already done that, then shoring up your corporate governance, to looking at things like drafting contracts or reviewing contracts that you're considering signing for new deals that you're doing as a business owner. It might include commercial leasing or negotiating a lease or a contract. It might mean looking at your intellectual property, like a licensing agreement or copyright or trademark question that you have. It might also mean taking a look at your employment law questions around independent contractors, employees, and other best practices. Our business and financial services include things like setting up financial statements, setting up financial projections, running evaluation, doing pricing analysis, and other types of modeling. I do want to say that we are not a lender and we don't offer any particular types of funds, or we don't recommend any particular lender or lending products. But our business and financial team can help you to evaluate offers that you might have and help you understand whether you're at a point where you can reasonably pay back a loan or what financing options might be appropriate for you at that time. We can also help you put together financial statements and bookkeeping if you haven't done that yet, so that you'll be more successful in applying for loans and grants. Finally, our marketing and sales team provides in-house and pro bono marketing advice. So they can do everything from setting up a marketing plan for you for the first time and helping you understand how to grow your social media, to doing more advanced things like setting up SEO, considering wholesale opportunities. We also do a lot of work connecting entrepreneurs and small business owners to external sales opportunities. So some of that is through our own marketing programs on our website, and some through our corporate partnerships, but we do a good bit of that as well. The next slide, please. You might have questions about COVID-19, and I imagine if you're on today's program, then you certainly do. Start Small, Think Big also offers, separate from our full service program, which I've been describing, our COVID-19 rapid response program. And this is a bit different than the full services I've been describing. So for a full service program, we do have some eligibility criteria, which you can view on our website. It's pretty simple, and it just has a couple of sales requirements, and a bit of income. You can view that on our website, startsmallthinkbig.org. Our COVID-19 rapid response program, however, does not have any eligibility criteria. And we're working in Virginia with the Northern Virginia Pro Bono Law Center and Arlene Beckerman and her team over there to provide this to the Northern Virginia area. You can click on this link or visit our website, covid19.startsmallthinkbig.org/request. It's also available in Spanish if you prefer. You can click the link and click on the button to request Spanish instead, and it'll bring up the form in Spanish if you prefer to fill it out in Spanish. And through this program, we're offering legal consultations around COVID-19 issues that you might be facing, like commercial lease review and negotiation, applying for PPP and the programs that the SBA has mentioned today, or questions about whether or not you're eligible to apply for those programs and other things you might have. We're also offering help with debt renegotiation, contract review, employment guidance, and other COVID-19 related questions that you might have. So again, this program is totally free. If you'd like to request this assistance, then just visit our website, covid19.startsmallthinkbig.org/request. There's also a link available on the Fairfax County EDA website. The next slide, please. These are a few links to some of the resources that we have available. Start Small, Think Big is constantly providing updated information around COVID-19 on our COVID-19 resource hub, including information in Spanish about PPP, EIDL, and other programs. You can view our upcoming workshops and programs on our website as well. We constantly have workshops around our 3 program areas: marketing, finance, and legal. And you might learn things like how to do business online in a more effective and risk cognizant manner, or you might learn how to manage your social media or better pivot your business during this time, or how to set up your financial statements to apply for loans and grants related to COVID-19. These are the links also to our full service application and our rapid response program that I've mentioned, which again is available in both English and Spanish. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us today, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm thrilled to hear that so much is being done to assist those businesses that have been impacted by COVID. Our third business resource expert joining us today is a real superwoman. After a successful career in tech, she started, successfully grew, and ran her professional services company for 14 years. Her exit strategy was selling her tech company to a large defense contractor. And if that wasn't enough, she decided she wanted to give back by helping others realize their entrepreneurial dreams. So she became a SCORE volunteer mentor. I would like to welcome Kristen Sharp to share information about SCORE. Good morning, Kristen. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Karen, and thank you so much for that kind introduction. And thank you to our other speakers, and particularly to Antonio. I have to say, I'm going to speak on for my clients, who so many of them have really relied on the SBA programs, EIDL, PPP1, now PPP2, to really weather this storm of COVID. So thank you so much to Antonio and the SBA team. Next slide. So let me tell you a little bit about SCORE and how we can help you through this craziness of the COVID year. So we are a nonprofit organization. We've been around for over 50 years. We are a resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration, and our sole mission is to help you, small businesses and entrepreneurs, be successful. And that's really what we do. Next slide. So how do we do that? Well, the main way we do that is free one-on-one business mentoring. So as Karen said, I am a mentor as a ex-tech entrepreneur. I think you'll find many of our mentors have very similar backgrounds to myself. And you can go online, and I'll give you that website in a moment, and search and read our profiles and look for a mentor that you think would be a good match for you, or you can put in your questions and we will match you with a mentor who can help you. And basically we work over time. We meet with our clients oftentimes for many years for really the life of their business. And I'm thinking about, what do we do now particularly that's different in this crazy year? We certainly spend quite a bit of time helping our clients through things like, how do I apply for a PPP second draw? But I think what you'll find is not only will your mentor be helping you with that sort of pointed questions, but really then working with you on an overall strategy that says, okay, how do we get EIDL loans, PPP loans, Fairfax County RISE loans, whatever you can get to try to get you through this crazy time? How do we look at reducing expenses? How do we look at pivoting so you can bring in new revenue sources? We're really looking at that big picture, with certainly PPP being a major component, but really we help you look at that whole picture. And then I can tell you, one of the things that's made me most happy particularly in the last month or so, is that so many clients now kind of see a light ahead with the vaccine rollout, and that things are going to start to look better. And so we're doing a lot of work right now is helping businesses to start to plan for that time when things get better, and how can we restart better, stronger, growth strategies, hiring strategies, really stuff that we haven't been able to look at for the last year, really starting to have that opportunity to look, which has been really wonderful to be helping businesses to be able to do that. Next slide, please. Other things we do, we have tons of low cost or free workshops, and a number of them are listed here, and I would recommend you go check those out. Not on this slide because it was announced after I had to get these slides in, but I did want to mention today is that SCORE is so excited this year to be doing a special pitch event focused on Black entrepreneurs. And that program will be allowing entrepreneurs to pitch to a series of judges, and we will be awarding prize money, cash to support your business growth. And that will be product companies and service companies, new companies, established companies. So we're just absolutely thrilled. So I would recommend that you take a look at that program as well. Next page. So how do you get in touch with us? The main place, that first website, washingtondc.score.org. You can find everything there. You can look for a mentor, search, read our profiles. You can look at COVID, and you can look to sign up and register for that free Black Entrepreneurs pitch event as well. So thank you so much. And if you're here today and are feeling a little overwhelmed by the loan opportunities, the struggles right now, please do not hesitate to reach out to SCORE, get a SCORE mentor who can really help you and guide you through this crazy time. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you very much. Now, I'd like to invite all the business resource experts to participate in Q&A by turning on their cameras and unmuting their mics. We have a number of questions to get through that were submitted in advance. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A. We will try to get through all of the questions. However, if we're unable to do so, we will follow up with you directly afterwards. So, first question is for you, Kristen. Does SCORE charge for their services?
We are mentoring, one-on-one mentoring is absolutely and totally free. Some of our workshops have a small fee, some are free. You can check out the details there, but all of the mentoring is absolutely 100% free.
Okay. So I think this one, if you all will just weigh in, my business has been severely impacted by COVID. How can your organizations help me increase my profits?
So,
Want to take a step?
So community business partnership, we have a staff of 15, and we have a significant number of people calling us, as do I'm sure the other folks that are on this, asking the exact same question. And we have now, I think, gone through this well long enough where we can talk to people with some customization to what's going on in the real economy. So again, just go on our counseling site, our page on our site, and find which one works best for you in terms of the length and type of your company, and get in touch with us. I just want to mention one other thing that we've found really helpful, and this is a shout out to the SCORE folks, is they've got a great website on their national SCORE site, Kristen, that is just chocked full of really good stuff, good little YouTube type presentations that we actually recommend a lot of people use. So I don't want to steal your thunder, Kristen, but it's through real appreciation about SCORE having those, and urge everybody to take a look at that as well.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate the shout out, and I really appreciate the underlying thing is that we all work together, right? We all work together we have the same goal, and we're all working together to help our small business community and really make it a strong and thriving community. And yeah, you know, from the revenue side, we often go into making a really detailed plans of, you know, where can we bring in the revenue? Where are you finding it today? What are new strategies for finding new clients, maybe pivoting, offering new products? It's very customized and one-on-one, and but we definitely dig deep with clients and try to work on making those plans.
I hear you.
Fantastic. Liz?
Sure. So as everyone has said, these are some great resources, and no matter which organizations you work with on this call, I think you can't go wrong in increasing your business revenue and growing your business. I'll start small, think big. Most of our clients increase their revenue pretty significantly in the first 12 months they work with us. in part because they'll have access to contract review and negotiation help, which can help you if you haven't really thought about negotiating a contract, or if there's some terms that don't work for you. You'll also have access to financial projections, so you can understand whether a business deal is really working for you and change your pricing if you need to, as well as access to external sales opportunities.
Okay. Here's a question. Do you have mentors that speak other languages? And I know that some of you did indicate that you do have programs in is that across the board that all of you have access to mentors and support in other languages? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. I am a nonprofit. Am I able to take advantage of your services?
From a SCORE perspective, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, we do at CBP as well.
At Start Small, our full services are only for for-profit businesses, but our rapid response program is open to nonprofits.
Okay. All right. How can I volunteer to work with your organizations? My company, I'm thinking about shutting it down and I'm looking for opportunities to give back.
I love that question. We are always looking for new volunteers, particularly folks who have experience as an entrepreneur. So this person would be great. So I would encourage you to go to score.org and click volunteer, and we would love to chat with you about helping our folks.
Okay, Mark, it looks like
for CBP, we have about
is for
2,000
you. What are my financing options if I want to get funding from the Business Finance Center at the CBP?
I'm going to put up our email for this Business Finance Center, Karen, in the chat, and people can use that email to get in touch with our Business Finance Center team. If we can't help you with our direct loans, then we can provide a level of counseling, one-on-one advice, and helpful tips and hints on how to get financing from traditional lenders, or if not in that case, from other community development financial institutions that also provide secondary financing.
Okay. I noticed that each of the programs, each of the organizations have various programs. Am I limited to the number of services that I can obtain from your organizations, or can I take advantage of everything?
SCORE, come on down, everything.
The same is true at Start Small. We encourage you to take advantage of all the services.
Okay.
Same here.
Okay. And then I think we've got time for 2 more questions. Can I meet with more than one SCORE mentor? I met with one in California and have since relocated my business. Can I meet with now a new mentor here in the area?
Absolutely. That is very common, particularly when folks move. If you go in and put in a new mentoring request via the website, we will assign you to a local person here. So welcome to Fairfax County.
All right, thank you very much. So that concludes the Q&A. I know that there are a number of questions that were placed in the Q&A and the questions that we obtained in advance. Some of those we were not able to answer. However, we will try our best to follow up with you and get those answers for you. Thank you, Kristen, Elizabeth, and Mark. Each one of you contributed valuable information here today. Before we wrap up, I would like to introduce FCEDA Executive Vice President Alex Imes, who will provide closing remarks. Good afternoon, Alex.
Good afternoon, Karen, and good afternoon, everyone on the program today from all of us at the FCEDA. I appreciate you spending your time with us today, your active engagement and the comments that you contributed to the discussion really helped shape the conversation. And I really am grateful for the participation of our speakers and partners at this critical time. And hearing that 82% of you intend to take advantage of the PPP2 loans means to me that the time we spent together today was more than worthwhile. We heard about the new features and top takeaways for PPP from Antonio Doss, including how the process will be simplified this time around and some of the adaptations they've made for those experiencing the greatest hardship, and make sure that the funding is directed to areas that have the most need. And we heard from some of our great partner organizations about the support services that are available. For example, the CBP and the Business Finance Center, and the counseling services for any stage of business, start small, think big, who can, who else could offer these expert pro bono legal, financial, and marketing services to start and grow your business. It's just an incredible resource, especially for disadvantaged businesses. And then of course, SCORE, who we've worked with for many, many years now, and the expert mentor services, the unlimited sessions. They can answer your questions about PPP as well. And they have even more to share on all of their websites. And it was just recently mentioned, can help you in multiple languages. It's just so great right now when there's a wide variety of needs in our business community. I wish you the great success with your business and good fortune navigating the road ahead. Thank you so much. I will turn it back over to Karen to close the program.
Thank you, Alex, for those insightful and inspiring comments. As we bring the webinar to a close, I would like to thank our partners, SBA, SCORE, CBP, Start Small, Think Big, and the Fairfax County Department of Economic Initiatives. In addition, I would like to thank our amazing lineup of speakers. Once again, Victor, Antonio, Mark, Elizabeth, Kristen, and Alex. Thank you so much for participating in this webinar today and for contributing to the success of this event. And to you, our viewers, we appreciate your participation. Thank you for joining us today. If there is anything we can do to assist you, please let us know. On behalf of President and CEO Victor Hoskins and my FCEDA colleagues, good afternoon, everyone. Enjoy the remainder